The number of rich celebrities who went broke at some point in their careers seems to be growing. They never learn. Their lives often seem glamorous, but even the rich and famous have been broke. There are billionaires who lost everything and remain broke to date, but some found their way back. Here is a list of famous people who lost all their money and went broke. His family did not have a significant amount of money or connections. As such, his wealth seems to be a product of his struggle. But Kanye West is not known for being stingy. West is the sole owner of the Yeezy brand. As for the rest of the rapper's wealth, $1.7 billion comes from his significant investment in ex-wife Kim Kardashian's Skims shapewear line. Despite making more than $1 million per night while on tour, the rapper, who is broke, famously took to Twitter in 2016 to announce his $53 million debt. Kanye never got that billion from Zuckerberg, though they apparently became friends and did karaoke together. But it appears West's financial woes have healed. According to Forbes, his apparel brand Yeezy is a billion-dollar empire. Forbes estimates West earned over $150 million pre-tax in 2018. His income is due largely to Yeezy's Adidas deal, a line that was expected to top $1.5 billion in sales in 2019. A lot of partying, a lot of addiction, and a lack of common sense allegedly led Lohan to plummet from what she was supposed to be a promising career in a long, dry spell of gigs. After Mean Girls, she virtually disappeared except in the tabloids. Eventually, her billionaire lifestyle forced her to file for bankruptcy in 2012. She owed far less than a lot of others on this list, but that's more likely due to the fact that she was worth a great deal less. Too much time without a steady paycheck does make your net worth go way down. In 2010, Holly Scoop reported that she spent $5,000 a week on recreational drugs. According to E! News, Lohan left rehab in 2010 with a $50,000 unpaid bill. In 2012, Huffington Post estimated that Lindsay racked up about $150,000 in rehab time, and she went back multiple times after that. Aside from the many rehab stints, Lindsay Lohan also struggled with legal issues, leaving her buried in debt. According to TMZ, Charlie Sheen paid Lindsay $100,000 to help alleviate her 2009 tax problem. She owed $233,904 in taxes, but the IRS still seized her bank accounts to settle her debts. In 2017, People magazine reported that she owed the USA $100,710.55 in taxes. With his success in The Mummy and its sequels, you would have thought that Fraser would be a Hollywood millionaire for years to come. Unfortunately, Hollywood can barely touch him now. Brendan has to take anything that comes his way just to pay child support, after which he is still extremely broke. In 2014, it was reported that Fraser had filed documents asking for a lower alimony payment from the $50,000 a month to ex-wife Afton Smith. The actor claimed he couldn't make the payments because his mortgages were over $5,000, property tax over $6,000, and income tax $34,132.52. Oh, and we can't forget his gardening expenses that took $5,200 chunk. He was roughly earning $205,704.04 a month, but had to pay about $112,803.25 in professional expenses before all else. Yikes! Remember to hit the like button if you are loving this video. Despite her awesome voice and a decent run of success, it seems like Braxton really overestimated her own fame. She continued to spend even when the royalties on her songs thinned out and then dried up. This led to 2 bankruptcies in less than 5 years, and there might be a third on the way. Rumor has it she is still allowed to purchase a $3 million home while she was still $50 million in debt. Yeah, it might be reasonable to assume that she'll be looking at bankruptcy number 3 fairly soon if she hasn't already. Due to legal restrictions, Toni was not allowed to speak about the details of the case. In the meantime, she was forced to sell her stuff in order to cover expenses. Clothing, jewelry, her beloved baby grand piano, cars, and even her Grammy Awards were auctioned off. This left her embarrassed and uncertain of her future in music. In January 1999, after a year of disputes, MTV reported that Arista or LaFace settled with the singer for an undisclosed amount. At the time, she was contemplating a stint on Broadway's production of Disney's Beauty and the Beast to get a steady income. In 2006, Nicholas purchased an allegedly haunted house that belonged to the serial killer Madame Delphine Lalaurie for $3.45 million. He was said to have owned 15 different residences at the time, including a $25 million beach home in California. One of his most expensive cars was a Lamborghini purchased in 1997 for a whopping $450 million. To put things in perspective, that amount of money in 1997 is likely to be worth around $767,000 today. This is what spending beyond your means means. Nick Cage tried to accumulate as much extravagance as he could buy, purchasing mansions, jets, and any other type of expensive item he could find. The problem was that by the time he had to file for bankruptcy, he owned around $14 million in debt. It shouldn't come as a surprise that he had to sell off nearly everything he owned just to pay the debt, thereby kind of erasing his life he tried to make for himself. Since he was still acting, he had come close to clearing the debt. We can only hope that this time around he has learned his lesson. You might think being the child of Michael Jackson would leave you a nice house and a healthy bank account, but you'd be wrong. Neverland Ranch took nearly $10 million per year to operate, and the Michael's constant plastic surgery were draining his funds. By the time he passed away, his vast fortune was down to almost nothing, which meant that his kids likely had more debt to look at than fortune. As much as we sometimes hate them for being so rich, it is often sad to see a famous billionaire going broke. In 2012, in an attempt to end a family dispute, Jackson's brother Jermaine retracted his signature on a public letter criticizing executors of Michael's estate and his mother's advisors over the legitimacy of his brother's will. T.J. Jackson, son of Tito Jackson, was given co-guardianship of Michael's children after false reports of Catherine's disappearance. Media reports suggested that the settlement of Michael Jackson's estate could last many years. The value of Sony ATV Music Publishing is estimated by Ryan Shinman, chief of Platinum Rye, to be $1.5 billion. Shinman's estimate makes Jackson's share of Sony ATV worth $750 million. From this, Jackson would have had an annual income of $80 million. In September 2016, a deal was finalized for Sony's acquisition of Jackson's share of Sony ATV, the Jackson estate, for $750 million. When 50 Cent filed for bankruptcy in 2015, he was making $185,000 a month, but $72,000 went to his 18-bedroom house, and almost everything else went to other expenses. 50 purchased tape of a woman he had dated, added a voiceover making fun of her, and uploaded it online without her knowledge or consent. Super not okay. A judge ordered him to pay $7 million in damages to the lady. He was also found guilty of copying his G-Unit headphone design from another company, and a judge ordered him to pay $17 million for that transgression. According to Business Insider, Mr. Cent also forged a career in acting, with roles in 21 movies, including Get Rich or Die Tryin'. The film was named after his debut album and based on his life. In arguably his biggest acting project to date, 50 Cent produced and starred in Stars' Power, whose shooting ended in February 2020. But 50 is slowly regaining his wealth. He's no stranger to the art of the comeback. At the age of 25, he infamously survived 9 gunshot wounds, proving that, above all, he is incredibly resilient. According to Celebrity Net Worth, 50 Cent is $30 million rich. While that is a far cry from his April 2014 value of $500 million, Mr. Cent is still a multimillionaire. Come on, show us some love by hitting the like button. He is one of the famous people who struggled with personal and legal issues starting in the late 1980s. As he went through a divorce, Tyson grew increasingly out of shape and started to lose his superstar image. Not long after, he was convicted of rape and served 3 of a 10-year sentence in federal prison. The boxer seemed to be making a comeback to the sport, but then he infamously bit off a part of Evander Holyfield's ear during a 1997 match. 5 years later, Tyson filed for bankruptcy and announced his retirement in 2005. A New York Times article stated he had made $400 million in the last 20 years, but still managed to blow it all. According to the article, Tyson had $23 million in debt. He owed $13.4 million to the IRS. He also owed $600,000 to several law firms, $500,000 to his financial manager, $800,000 to a former trainer, and the list went on. Tyson claimed he had been struggling financially since 1998. In an episode of his podcast, Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson, he mentioned he was $60 million in debt. And there was an easy way for him to get out of that debt, declaring bankruptcy. Or just get a good accountant and shrink. What do you think? Let us know on the comment section. No, not that Drake. This billionaire former child actor who starred in Nickelodeon's Drake and Josh reportedly filed for bankruptcy. The actor filed legal documents claiming that he was $581,000 in debt. While he listed the value of his home at $1.575 million, Bell apparently still owed $1.597 million. He indicated that his monthly expenses totaled $18,771 and that he was only pulling in $2,820 a month. This former child actor is listed 2012 as a good year in which he earned $408,000, but the next year saw him making just $14,099. TMZ further reported that Bell owed a hefty amount in taxes. He appeared to deny the website's report via his Twitter account. For some time, Drake Bell provided the voice in several animated TV shows. Later, he focused more on his music career, even releasing the single Bitchcraft from his first album. Bell gained attention for his public bashing of teen idol Justin Bieber, taking to Twitter to criticize Bieber's past run-in with the law. What's that? A kettle calling a pot black? In 2009, the youngest of the four Baldwin brothers filed for bankruptcy. He owed about $1.2 million on his mortgage in New York City and more than $1 million in taxes. The millionaire's credit card debt was also through the roof. In a shocking police report, it was revealed that a homeless man who was invited to stay at Stephen's home was arrested on drug possession and dealing charges. Stephen claimed he just thought his guest was up to no bad. The actor had mild success as an actor over the years, from his appearance in The Usual Suspects to various appearances on reality TV shows, but his paychecks were irregular and could never cover his lavish celebrity lifestyle. People from many generations have heard of Marvin Gaye or his music. What most might not have heard is that he was flat broke for years. Gaye had one of the worst habits when it came to feeling rich. It was so bad that he would spend more money than he was making. Since filing bankruptcy, Marvin had to depend on the kindness of friends. He lived on couches, in the back of vans, and with just about anyone that would have him. Gaye met Anna, the sister of Berry Gordy, in 1959. The two clicked from their first meeting, and by 1963 they were married. They adopted a child together, but had marriage problems. In 1975, 2 years after their separation, Anna filed for divorce. Gaye then filed for bankruptcy in 1976 after failing to keep up with alimony payments. At the time, he owed his ex-wife around $600,000. Though Gaye left a rich musical legacy, his only major asset at the time of his death was intellectual property including song royalties, life story rights, and image rights. The legendary singer did not leave behind a will, but a mountain of debt. Intellectual. What do you think? Lil' Kim meant it when she sang "It's All About the Benjamins." The rapper filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy in 2018, claiming at the time that she was in debt to the tune of 7 figures. Although the artist now touts an estimated net worth of $500,000, she owed roughly $2 million on a loan for her New Jersey home, $1,845,451.74 in unpaid taxes, and $186,000 for legal bills at the time of filing for broke. A court ruled that Kim was too broke to qualify for Chapter 13's specific type of bankruptcy. That's right, it is possible to be too broke to be described as bankrupt. What bank? Although the Crush on You singer paid $2.3 million for a 6,026 square foot crib in 2002, the opening bid for the New Jersey mansion was $100 million when it hit the auction block in May of 2018. And while Lil' Kim's net worth approached $18 million in the years before her bankruptcy filing, she struggled for years to make her mortgage payments on her Garden State home. Despite the artist's petitions, HSBC Bank initiated foreclosure on the mansion in 2010. She went to court, but the judge ruled in 2017 that Kim was in default, meaning the house would be foreclosed and eventually auctioned. Singer Aaron Carter's career came on the heels of his brother Nick's Backstreet Boys fame. But the young star carved out his own niche in the late 1990s pop scene, launching him to teen heartthrob status. Aaron's publicist, Steve Honig, mentioned to The Hollywood Reporter that year that the overwhelming majority of a debt that was the star's asking to be dismissed from was more than 10 years before he legally in control of his own finances. The publicists claimed the problem had existed for a long time, and Aaron made the decision to do something about it in order to be able to move forward with his life. Honig added that, in the years leading up to his bankruptcy, Aaron had done a lot of things to put his life back together. And while he had issues with substance abuse, he had been clean and sober for a while and also taking care of his finances. Unfortunately, that meant forfeiting much of his property to cover the $1.3 million in back taxes from 2003 and $30,000 in credit card bills, among other debts. But while Aaron was able to put his unfortunate chapter of this life behind him, the singer faced many struggles in the years after his outstanding debt was resolved. At the peak of Grace Under Fire, Brett was one of the highest-paid actors in television, earning $250,000 per episode. This came to around $5 million per season. After adjusting for inflation, that would be around $9 million today. She held the title role on the ABC sitcom from 1993 to 1998, but that didn't stop Brett from going broke. Rumors swirled that the show was canceled due to her struggle with addiction and reportedly difficult on-set behavior. After several stints in rehab, the actress left Los Angeles for a farm in Georgia. There, she eventually ran out of money and was forced to move into a homeless shelter. After overcoming her financial predicament, Butler returned to Hollywood for a fresh start in 2011. Working hard on her comeback has allowed her to amass a net worth of $10 million. Butler, who says she's been sober since July '98, calls her downward spiral a drug-fueled death rampage. She also says she's in a much better place these days, despite bouts with depression, agoraphobia, and a shortage of acting gigs during COVID. But the blanket of the pandemic was more of something she hid behind. That's too much fire for one person, don't you think? Fantasia Barrino went from the girl from High Point, North Carolina, to American Idol when she won the popular competition. She signed a recording deal with Simon Cowell and Clive Davis at the helm, a best-selling book, a movie on her life, and then some. But with all the highs, who would have thought there would be a lot of lows? Things started to go badly for Barrino in 2008 when she was allegedly accused of defaulting on a $58,000 loan from Florida-based Broward Energy Management. This spiraled into a housing issue for the star, and she reportedly lost her North Carolina mansion in 2013. She had purchased the 6,500 square foot home in 2007 for $1.3 million. Barrino had then put the house on the market in 2012 at a listing price of $800,000. However, her hook didn't get any bites, and she ended up signing and transferring the deed over to the bank. Wyclef Jean rose to fame in the mid-1990s with Lauryn Hill and Pras Michael after they became the Fugees. The celebrated hip-hop group released 2 albums, Blunted on Reality and The Score, which were both critically acclaimed. The Score hit #1 on the Billboard charts, featuring the hit song Killing Me Softly, and won the group a Grammy for Best Rap Album. Something hit the fan when the 4 musicians claimed they were not properly credited for their work on the song Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. The suit was settled out of court, with Hill paying them $5 million. Emotionally scarred, she fell in with a de facto spiritual advisor who offered, as alleged by Pras, real cult shit. How did Lauryn Hill lose money? She quit singing and like 6 children. Lauryn was imprisoned for 3 months for evading more than $500,000 in taxes. A year later, she played a string of shows, with the first night marred by sound issues and lateness. It seems like being a megastar featured in so many action films is not enough to afford a comfortable life. Of course, owing $15 million to the IRS because you wanted to have some fun with it is kind of ridiculous as well. The Blade actor was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2008 for alleged willful failure to file $5 million of federal income tax returns. He was released in 2013 after serving 2.5 years of his sentence. Since then, Snipes has only starred in one really notable action movie, Expendables 3. Rumor has it this was more of a favor from Sly Stallone since the film was already filled with action stars. After it was revealed that Trump was avoiding tax long before he was elected, Snipes was quoted saying, "This is not rocket science. It's not what you know, it's who you know." Dennis Rodman divorced his 3rd wife, who left him alone, and took their 9 and 10-year-old children when his endorsement opportunities were rolling in. He neglected to pay child support or spousal support for a number of years, racking up almost $1 million of unpaid fees. His ex-wife sued him for misconduct, and his lawyer fees skyrocketed while his endorsements plummeted. Rodman is known for his crazy lifestyle of parties, drugs, women, and retail therapy. He was eventually unable to pay his lawyers, so they worked pro bono in order to help him settle his finances. Rodman also allegedly spent significant amounts of money on strip clubs and alcohol. It is unclear how much Rodman actually spent, how much was lost while high. Dennis Rodman had other run-ins with the law that cost him, including a $2,000 fine for drunk driving, and in another incident being arrested and fined alongside his then-wife for a domestic disturbance. Other significant expenses include $200,000 that he had to pay after kicking a referee, $20,000 fined after leaving his basketball team to wrestle Hulk Hogan during the 1998 finals of the NBA playoffs, an additional $20,000 after picking a fight with yet another ref, and $68,000 after skipping preseason camp in 1992. After the fame she had on Baywatch and all the cameos she has had in her long career, you would think Pamela was set for life. But from the plastic surgeries to the nice home to the partying and living the good life, Pamela Anderson was sought by the IRS. But first, do us a favor. Click that like button to inspire us. Subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell, and you won't miss any interesting videos. Done then? Let's go. Failure to pay her taxes had the star sinking in debt for a while before she finally found a way to climb back out. Pam purchased a fixer-upper at 23445 Malibu Colony Road in 2008 for just $1.8 million per CBC. She hired architect Philip Vertok and interior designer Josh Chrysanthou to turn things around. Unfortunately, remodeling the 2,752 square foot home by opting for lavish touches such as gold pool tiles was something she simply could not afford. As People magazine reported in 2009, Anderson was hit with liens from 5 construction companies after she failed to pay their bills. The debts included a $674,043 invoice for labor and materials to remodel the house, build a swimming pool, and construct foundations for a guest house. As Investopedia explains, a lien is a claim or legal right against assets that are typically used as collateral to satisfy a debt. Johnny Depp claims he discovered at a 2016 meeting with his accountant that he had lost $650 million in movie earnings. The loss was immediately prior to an incident when he is alleged to have been violent towards his then-wife Amber Heard. A court heard this claim on the 5th day of his libel trial in London against the publisher of The Sun newspaper. Depp was suing News Group newspapers and journalist Dan Wootton for an article in The Sun Web that described him as a wife-beater. He denied that he was violent towards Heard, to whom he was married from 2015 to 2017. At London's Royal Courts of Justice, Depp was asked about events that occurred on the day of Heard's 30th birthday celebration on April 21, 2016. He said he arrived at the party at Eastern Columbia Building in Los Angeles, where the couple lived, 2 hours late but denied getting violent. Depp had found out that he had lost the $650 million due to alleged financial mismanagement. He discovered the taxes had not been paid on his behalf for 17 years, meaning that he owed the IRS $100 million in back taxes. Despite the news, Depp's income was still very robust, with earnings of around $60 million in that financial year. What have you learned from these celebrities? Should they be getting life coaches or learn from each other? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comments section. To keep up to date with all of our awesome videos, be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take care of yourself.